To my friend from Colorado, I just want to follow up on a few issues. We call the bills, the jobs-related bills that we've passed here that will help the private sector grow, we call them the Forgotten 15, because these are the bills that made their way down to the Senate and just sat there. The only problem with that is it's not 15 anymore. It's 16 or 17 or 18. And they're not one bill. It's more complex than that. They're plural. There are a number of jobs bills. A few of them. The Reducing Regulatory Burdens Act, H.R. 872. The Energy Tax Prevention Act, H.R. 910. Restarting American Offshore Leasing Now Act, H.R. 1230. Putting the Gulf of Mexico Back to Work Act, H.R. 1229. These are all related to job creation and getting the private sector creating jobs again. And the list goes on and on. Now, one of those is the North American Made Energy Security Act, H.R. 1938. Now, this bill is also just sitting in the Senate, passed the House July 26th of this year. Now, we're up here talking about bills and legislation and what have you, but I can, speaking for me, and I think I can speak for my colleagues here, we're talking about bills and legislation and laws, but ultimately we're talking about policies that will allow folks who are hurting back in our districts, who have been out of work. We're talking about bills that, if passed into law, would help job creation, which will help those folks who are still looking. I'll give you a specific example. There's a company called Wellspun in Little Rock, and they make massive pipe, and they're talking about expanding. Well, what are they waiting on, or what is one of the things that they're looking at that's a potential obstacle? They make the pipe for the Keystone Pipeline. Why are they in Little Rock? Because they're right there at the port of Little Rock. So they can really haul a lot of steel in those barges, and they've got a huge, high-tech, state-of-the-art facility. It's an Indian-based company. Lots of jobs right there. They want to expand. They want to create more jobs. They're building up that pipe. And we've got an administration that's not sure how they feel about the Keystone Pipeline that's going to allow for more energy to come from our neighbors to the north instead of from around the world. They're not sure about the Keystone Pipeline that will create energy jobs, energy-related jobs right here in the United States. Where I come from, Keystone Pipeline's a no-brainer. That means you don't even have to think about it. And now I read, actually a few minutes ago, I got a news clip that the president now has decided that he's going to make the ultimate decision on the Keystone Pipeline. If I was making that decision, that'd take about 2 seconds. It's absolutely critical that we build this both for national security and for energy here at home in terms of jobs. Now, on the issue of regulations, I want to touch on it real quickly before I pass to my good friend from Colorado. At my jobs conference that we had a couple weeks ago, Senior Vice President Ken Kimbrough, Tyson Foods, we've all heard of Tyson. My kids and I, we love the chicken. We've all heard of Tyson. Ken Kimbrough, Senior Vice President, says this about regulations in general. Quote, "I understand the intended consequences of regulations, but it seems like we turn a blind eye to the unintended consequences of what that's going to mean to us in Arkansas, our industry, to the state of Arkansas, and to the jobs that support everything that we do. and it seems to be lost in an academic exercise without the consequence of what's going to happen. And we face it across the full spectrum of government agencies, and it's terribly frustrating because we all want to do the right thing. Now, on the regulatory front, he's identified the problem. I had another panelist who owns 10 International House of Pancakes restaurants. I love them. Like to eat breakfast there. Here's what she said, quote, "As a business owner today, I am in a constant posture of defense." Is that what we want? We want job creators in a constant posture of defense? So I just want to put in a plug. I have just introduced a bill called the Job Creation and Regulatory Freeze Act. It's somewhat similar to a bill introduced on the Senate side by Susan Collins of Maine. And it puts a moratorium on all major regulations coming out of this administration until January of 2013. Now, my colleague on the Senate side, hers is for a year. I didn't think a year was sufficient because at the end of that year, the administration could just implement regulations that are waiting. So I say, let's take it through January to Inauguration Day of 2013, because this administration has not gotten the message on overregulation. This bill would stop major regulations being implemented, new ones, until 2013. Now I'd like to yield to my friend from Colorado.
Gentleman yield before?
Yes.
Thank you. I appreciate my colleague.